Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a masterful case study of a catastrophic miscalculation and its absolute chilling fallout. We're looking at a story that perfectly illustrates how invisible power dynamics can just completely upend an established hierarchy. We'll be breaking down a fascinating narrative from the channel Silent Mob Stories, examining the exact anatomy of a single, fatal mistake made in a high-stakes professional kitchen and the total, systematic destruction that followed. Honestly, it's a brilliant look at power, hubris, and consequence. Let's get into it. We're starting right at the climax of a conflict, with this terrifyingly calm prophecy, "You will regret this." Imagine the scene. A 20-year-old cook named Clara is standing perfectly still, like literally a statue carved from shock, as thick, scalding, saffron-scented bouillabaisse drips from her chin onto her pristine white chef's jacket. Her manager just intentionally poured it on her. But Clara doesn't scream. She doesn't cry. With this profound, terrifying calm, she just looks at her attacker, unties her apron, and delivers that single line. It wasn't a threat, you guys. It was a prophecy.
Section 1. The Fatal Culinary Incident.
Now, to really understand the gravity of that spilled soup, you have to understand the literal pressure cooker where it happened. Videon was the absolute pinnacle of European haute cuisine. We're talking a 3-Michelin-star temple of gastronomy with a year-long waiting list. It's a notoriously high-pressure world. Think of it like a symphony of controlled chaos, blast furnaces, and sharp knives. Securing a position there was basically like finding a golden ticket. And managing this elite, high-wire act, well, that was an insecure manager named Beatrice, who, in her sheer desperation to maintain control over this environment, made the ultimate error in judgment.
Moving on to Section 2. Anatomy of a Bully and a Hidden Queen.
So, look at the dramatic contrast between our two key figures here. On one side, you have Clara. She's a young American with this quiet, Midwestern demeanor, but she can break down a whole halibut with a surgeon's precision. She is a true artist, and her medium is flavor and fire. Then, on the flip side, you have Beatrice. She's a manager who definitely didn't come from culinary royalty, but clawed her way to the top. Beatrice's authority was this incredibly fragile construct. It was maintained entirely through fear, sharp elbows, and intimidation. So naturally, she saw Clara's quiet confidence as a massive affront. To Beatrice, Clara was an imposter who just didn't belong in her temple.
Because of all that insecurity, Beatrice targeted Claire with these petty, escalating torments. She'd mock her accent. After Clara worked a grueling 14-hour shift, Beatrice would literally make her scrub the grout between floor tiles or polish every single piece of silverware by hand. She would accidentally misplace Clara's prep lists and completely sabotage her meticulously prepared ingredients, her mise en place. Beatrice just pushed and pushed, but she was entirely unaware of the massive invisible variable in this young cook's life.
And here is the crucial point. Clara was living a double life. Before culinary school, while she was working at a tiny family-run bakery, Clara caught the eye of Marco Moretti. He's a powerful Mafia boss who came in every single day just to watch her work. They ended up having a secret wedding at a cliffside villa on the Amalfi Coast. But Clara didn't want to be kept in a gilded cage, you know? She wanted to earn her stripes in the kitchen. Marco allowed it, but he wrapped her in the silent cloak of unbreakable security. I mean, he had men watching her commute. He knew the debts and weaknesses of every single staff member at Videon. He was like a patient predator, letting his queen explore the world, but always ready to descend with hellfire.
Which brings us to Section 3. The one phone call.
Right after the soup incident, Clara didn't retaliate. She simply walked out the back alley, strolled 2 blocks to a cold park bench overlooking the river, and dialed the only number on her favorites list. Marco was actually in his office actively intimidating 3 terrified men when his phone rang. Upon hearing from Clara that her manager threw hot soup on her, Marco didn't explode in a violent rage. The source material notes that a profound silence followed. His voice dropped to a whisper, he dismissed the men in his office, and simply said, "I'm on my way home." He began to work, and what's really fascinating is exactly how he went to work.
That leads right into Section 4, Systematic Annihilation.
Marco's revenge wasn't some loud, cinematic mob hit. Oh no, it was a total masterclass in silent, bureaucratic destruction. He aimed right at the foundation of Beatrice's power, the restaurant itself. Check out this timeline. Within 30 minutes, surprise city health inspectors swarm Videon. They find these microscopic, almost impossible violations, like a hairline crack in a freezer seal and a wine import document that was off by a single day. By 9 p.m., right at peak dinner service, the 3-Michelin-star restaurant is slapped with a bright red closure notice. 15 minutes later, their primary meat supplier of 20 years inexplicably terminates their contract. By 9:30 p.m., the fishmonger and vegetable suppliers do the exact same thing. Literally, in a matter of minutes, the entire lifeblood of a culinary empire is totally severed.
As the empire crumbled around them, Julian, the frantic, apoplectic restaurant owner, turned his rage entirely on Beatrice, shouting, This is your fault." She was publicly, humiliatingly fired and escorted out by security, clutching her designer handbag. But as she watched her whole kingdom fall apart, she still thought it was just a string of incredibly bad luck. She had absolutely no idea the punishment had barely even begun.
Because the very next morning, Beatrice's personal life unraveled with the exact same cold, surgical precision as the restaurant's closure. Step 1. She wakes up to a 24-hour apartment eviction notice based on a legally airtight breach of lease regarding unauthorized balcony decorations. Crazy, right? Step 2. She goes to an ATM only to find her bank accounts locked tight due to suspicious activity. Step 3. When she tries to leverage her elite resume to get a new job, doors just slam in her face. A silent, unsigned memo had circulated through the city's elite. She was facing an absolute, irreversible industry blacklist.
You see, Beatrice's ultimate punishment wasn't a quick exit. It was the slow, agonizing process of becoming a total nobody. From elite manager to a pariah, she was completely erased from the city's elite landscape. She loses her apartment, her savings, her career. She's forced to sell her jewelry for a fraction of its worth and moves into this dingy, water-stained, weekly rate motel. And lying there, she finally realizes the truth. She was never the predator in that kitchen. She was just a fool who tried to bite a queen, completely oblivious to the dragon guarding her.
Now let's look at Section 5, the ultimate reward.
Meanwhile, a stark contrast plays out across town. Later that night, Marco comes home to find Clara in an oversized cashmere sweater, calmly kneading dough in a private kitchen he built specifically for her. It's this beautiful sanctuary of copper pots and familiar spices. As the cold rage finally leaves his veins in her presence, he whispers to her about a building on the corner of Grand and Mulberry. He presents her with the lease to her own restaurant, her name above the door, her menu, her rules. He gave her the ultimate gift, total autonomy. A sanctuary where she would never, ever have to answer to anyone ever again.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative question to ponder. We just saw a manager who thought a title gave her the right to terrorize, only to be completely dismantled in an afternoon by a quiet cook whose real power lay entirely unseen. So I leave you to think about this. Does true power really come from the title on your office door, or does it come from the quiet devotion of those who protect you? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember to keep questioning what's beneath the surface.